A single mango cost my wife a $1 billion deal. When I was 7, my mom brought home a handsome man who gave me a box of mangoes. That day, my dad watched me devour them, signed the divorce papers, and then jumped to his death. From that moment on, mangoes became the nightmare of my life. So on our wedding day, I told my wife, Christina, if you ever want a divorce, just give me a mango. Christina held me without a word, and from then on, mangoes became her taboo, too. On Christmas Eve of our 5th year of marriage, her childhood friend left a mango on her desk at the office. That same day, Christina announced she was cutting ties with him, a guy named Caleb, and fired him from the company. In that moment, I felt like she was the woman I was destined to be with. Until 6 months later, when I returned from overseas after negotiating a $1 billion contract. At the celebration party, my wife handed me a drink. After I'd had about half of it, her childhood friend, the same man she'd supposedly kicked out of the company, stood behind me and asked with a smirk, "How's the mango juice?" I looked at Christina in utter disbelief, but she was holding back a laugh. "Don't be mad. Caleb insisted I play a little joke on you. I didn't give you a mango, just some mango juice. Besides, I think Caleb's right. This whole not eating mangoes thing is just a weird hang-up. You saw how much you were enjoying it just now." My face went cold. I raised my hand and threw the rest of the juice in her face, then turned and walked away. Some things are never a joke. Not mangoes, and not me wanting a divorce. "Mr. Price, your gastritis has flared up due to a stress-induced reaction. Whatever it is you don't like, you must not eat it again. Next time, it might not be a stomachache, it could be surgery to remove part of your stomach. We'll keep you for observation overnight. Please notify your family as soon as possible." I fell silent at the doctor's words. I had just spent 39 days working around the clock overseas for a new project and had returned safely. I never thought a glass of mango juice from Christina at my own celebration party would be what sent me straight to the hospital. I instinctively opened my pinned text thread. I typed 2 words before I noticed something was off. I looked closer and confirmed it was Christina's number. But she'd changed her profile picture. It was now a green mango. As I was staring at the chat window, a call came through from Christina. Her voice was icy. "I'm home. Where are you?" I said nothing. Normally, I would have swallowed my pride and soothed her in a gentle tone. But tonight, I didn't know how to even begin. Christina was getting annoyed. "Leo, how long are you going to keep this up?" "The hospital." Christina went silent. She never cared about my health. She would never have imagined that her glass of mango juice would put me in the hospital. "Stay there. I'm on my way." I didn't want to deal with her, but I was too weak to move. Time ticked by. The doctor came to check on me 3 times, but Christina never showed up. Before falling asleep, I checked my phone one last time and saw Caleb's social media post. My guardian angel always shows up when I'm hurt. So nice. The accompanying photo was of Christina putting a Band-Aid on him. Caleb's profile picture was a yellow mango. Pretty, but it made me sick. We'd known each other for 10 years. Christina always knew where my lines were. After years in the business world, she also knew how to maintain professional boundaries with other men. But now she was crossing them again and again. In that case, the bond that tied us together and the new project I had just secured, that $1 billion European deal that was life or death for our company, there was no reason for it to exist anymore. When I woke up the next day, there were no messages or calls from Christina. I wasn't angry. After my follow-up check was clear, I went straight home. The sprawling 5,000 square foot luxury home was something Christina and I had bought with cash last year. 7 years ago, when we graduated, we were crammed into a basement apartment, splitting a single cup of ramen. 5 years ago, when we got married, we celebrated at a cheap diner and went home to a tiny personal cake. And now, here I was, licking my wounds alone in this empty mansion. I figured I'd get used to it. Just as I was reviewing the divorce agreement my lawyer had sent over, Christina came home. The strong scent of a woody cologne followed her in. The smell caught me off guard. Christina has delicate, sensitive skin and is allergic to many cosmetics. She hates perfume. Because of that, in all our years together, I never used any scented products, not even aftershave. I always bought the unscented kind. It seemed she was only strict with me. She saw me lying on the sofa with my tablet and paused. Caleb got a little too excited at the party last night, fell, and got hurt. I took him home first. Then it got really late and the drive was long. So I just found a hotel nearby for the night. That's why I didn't come get you from the hospital. I nodded, canceling another contract on my tablet. Okay, got it, I said casually. Christina opened her mouth, but the words got stuck. It seemed my reaction wasn't what she expected. She hesitated for a moment, took 2 steps closer, and looked away. Saturday, so stop worrying about work. I'm planning to take Caleb to Paris for a trip. Do you want to come with us? 7 years ago, on my birthday, Christina and I took a $5 photo at a street fair. Looking at the cheap Eiffel Tower backdrop, I swore that one day when we had money, I would take her to Paris and we'd take the exact same photo in front of the real thing. Later, as our house got bigger and the company grew more successful, she got busier. Every time I brought it up, she would coax me. Leo, the company is at a critical stage right now. As the head of the company, how can I just take a vacation and fly overseas? You're the most understanding person I know. You get it, right? I did get it. So I stopped mentioning Paris and threw myself into the business, helping to build our empire. But it turned out that as long as Caleb wanted to go, she had the time. I clicked open the next client's email, my tone unchanged. 3's a crowd. I'm not interested. When she heard that, she seemed to let out a sigh of relief before continuing. Fine. I'm just grabbing something, and then I'm leaving. You're on your own for lunch. We can have dinner together tonight. Also, this new contract is crucial for the company's expansion into the overseas market. I've invited the media for a press conference on Monday. You've always wanted to stand by my side in the spotlight, right? Monday's your chance, so get ready. She paused again, looking at me seriously. Don't worry. This time I'll introduce you properly. I won't let Caleb mess things up. I calmly looked up at her. I knew this was her way of compensating me for last night. That works out, actually. It takes a few days to process the cancellation for the European contract. Announcing it at the press conference would be perfect. That evening, I arrived at the restaurant early, as I always did. It had become my habit over our 7 years together. While waiting, I got a call from overseas. It was from my counterpart in the recent negotiation, my friend Alex. Alex's tone was warm as he laughed. Leo, have you thought any more about my offer to join DM? Her company is too small for you. It doesn't deserve your talent. This was the 3rd time he'd tried to poach me. The first time was 7 years ago, when I turned down a high-paying offer from a foreign firm to join Christina's small startup for $2,500 a month. I even had to use $1,000 of that to pay my share of our rent. Alex, frustrated that I wouldn't listen to reason, talked himself hoarse trying to change my mind. The second time was just a few days ago across the negotiating table, where he was on the losing end of my strategy. Afterward, he said, half in admiration and half in apprehension, Leo, I hear you're only making $5,000 a month at her company. Come work with me. Don't let your talent be buried by people who don't appreciate it. I smiled and refused. How could my talent be buried? It was my wife's company, an empire we had built together over 7 years. The 3rd time was now. I paused for only 3 seconds, signaled the waiter for a bottle of red wine, and then accepted his offer without hesitation. Send me the address. I'll start next Tuesday. The other end of the line was silent for 2 seconds, then erupted into boisterous laughter. Alex, afraid I would change my mind, just said great, and hung up. I chuckled. As I was about to put my phone down, a message from Christina popped up. Change of plans. Caleb couldn't wait, so I'm taking him to the airport. You're on your own for dinner. I'll have a surprise for you when I get back. There was also a new post from Caleb on his feed, where he had tagged me specifically. Thanks to Christina for making my dream come true. As a thank you, I'm treating you to a big dinner tomorrow. The picture was of Caleb holding Christina's hand under the Eiffel Tower. It looked exactly like that photo from 7 years ago. I stared at the picture for a couple of seconds, then closed it without a second thought and opened my chat with Alex. I'm bringing a welcome gift. That billion-dollar European contract, you want it? My phone was quiet for a moment. Then it started vibrating uncontrollably. Yes, yes, yes. My friend, you're too good to me. Yesterday was your birthday, right? The gift I bought you should have arrived. Don't forget to pick it up. I froze, and a soft chuckle escaped my lips, growing louder and louder. That's right. Yesterday was my birthday. When Christina watched me drink that mango juice, did she remember it was my birthday? When Christina was putting a band-aid on Caleb, leaving me alone in the hospital, did she remember to get a birthday gift for her husband of 7 years? Probably not. But it didn't matter anymore. We were getting a divorce. Who wants a gift from their soon-to-be ex-wife? After dinner, I didn't rest. I dove headfirst into the European project. It was, after all, a gift for my new employer. It had to be perfect. For the next 2 days, I lived at the office, the lights in my room burning all night. People at the company noticed. In the main group chat, which I wasn't in, they whispered, "What did I tell you? The director only makes $5,000 a month, and he relies on Ms. Christina for everything. How could he dare to stay mad? If it weren't for his relationship with the CEO, would a guy like him even have a place here with the company doing so well? I heard he was the one who held the company back when she was just starting out. Otherwise, we would have gone public ages ago." Caleb, of course, screenshotted all these messages and sent them to me, then followed up with some fake concern. "Leo, I know it must be tough being with a powerful and capable finance exec like Christina. The pressure must be immense. But let me give you some advice. A man who only knows how to work isn't attractive to women. They prefer young, handsome, and charming guys like me." I listened to his oily voice message and just smiled. "Great. In that case, I'll have HR fire you tomorrow so you don't have to worry about not attracting women." Then I blocked him and moved on. 10 minutes later, an irate call from Christina came through. She was furious. "Leo, what did Caleb do to you now? I finally convinced him to come to Paris and forgive you for being so rude at the party, and now you've made him angry again. Are you not happy unless you're causing trouble? Forgive who? Me?" I found it hilarious. While printing out the divorce papers I'd prepared, I casually asked her, "When are you and Caleb coming back? We need to talk about the divorce." The line went dead silent. Christina's enraged voice crackled through the phone. "Leo, are you ever going to stop? There's a limit to these tantrums. If you keep being so unreasonable, I'm really going to get mad." I froze, then couldn't help but laugh out loud. I had the signed divorce papers right here in black and white. Did she really think I was afraid of her getting angry? "I've signed the divorce agreement and left it on your desk. Remember to look at it when you get back." Bang! Christina kicked a chair over and hissed into the phone through gritted teeth. "Fine. Don't you regret this?" The call ended with a sharp click. I shrugged and signed the papers. The next morning, the first thing I saw when I opened my phone was a notification from Christina. It seemed she hadn't slept. At 4 a.m., she'd made a public post on all her social media. It was a photo of her and Caleb standing by a hotel's floor-to-ceiling window, their fingers intertwined. The caption read, "7 years of storms. So lucky to have you." Tens of thousands of comments flooded in, all asking, "Is it finally official? Is this the Mr. Christina she's been hiding for 7 years?" Christina didn't reply, but she pinned a comment with a shushing emoji. In the company-wide chat, she had posted an announcement. Effective immediately, Caleb will be taking over Leo Price's position as director. The European contract will be transferred to manager Caleb's supervision. Tonight's press conference will also be hosted by manager Caleb in place of Leo Price. She knew I had worked 39 sleepless days and nights overseas for this deal. She knew I had spent my days organizing materials and my nights networking, drinking until I wanted to vomit, just to close it. But she still did this to force me to back down. My phone vibrated. A new message from Christina. "You still have a chance if you apologize now." I didn't reply. I tossed my phone aside and went to wash up. Had she forgotten? I was the one who made that European project happen. The client didn't care about the company, they cared about me. After getting ready, I went downstairs to grab some breakfast. When I returned, I found all my belongings thrown out of my office. My mug, my files, and the divorce agreement I had signed torn in half. The only thing that survived was our wedding photo, which had been carefully placed on the windowsill. Caleb was sitting smugly in my chair, a defiant look on his face. Sorry, Leo. Christina gave this office to me. From now on, you can work over there. He pointed to a leaky storage closet next to the bathroom, his chin held high. I couldn't be bothered with him. I turned to Christina, who had been standing silently by the side. She looked like she hadn't slept a wink, her eyes bloodshot, but a cruel smirk played on her lips. Caleb is right. I've already given him the office. But if you take back what you said about the divorce, maybe I could. No need. I cut her off, reached for the wedding photo on the windowsill, and, meeting her slightly triumphant gaze, tossed it into the trash. I don't want this either. You two can throw it away. With that, I picked up my laptop from the desk and turned to leave. I pretended not to see the fury reddening Christina's eyes. Today was Monday. I had to be in Europe for my new job tomorrow, so I needed to go home and pack. I didn't go to the press conference that night. Instead, from home, I held my final discussion with the European partners in my new capacity as a director at DM Group. The moment the partnership was confirmed, I received a message from Christina. I've invited the media to live stream tonight's press conference. If you don't apologize now, the European project will really have nothing to do with you. I glanced at it and enabled Do Not Disturb. It was about time. I had a flight to catch. At 7 p.m., the media began to arrive. The event was being broadcast live across the city. Caleb had hired an expensive stylist and was meticulously dressed, smiling radiantly with his arm linked through Christina's. Christina wore a gray pantsuit, looking poised and professional, but her eyes darted anxiously across the audience, scanning every face. Why isn't he here yet? The thought flashed through Christina's mind, and her initial excitement was slowly replaced by a growing unease. But the show had to go on. Christina pursed her lips and took the microphone. Good evening, everyone. I am Christina, CEO of Christina Corp. Today's press conference is about the Victoria Project, a partnership our company has secured with GK Group. This project... Hold on. A reporter with an international business channel press pass suddenly stood up. Miss Christina, are you certain it's the Victoria Project? Christina froze. Of course. This is our company's. Her assistant rushed onto the stage and whispered frantically in her ear. This is bad, Ms. Christina. 1 minute ago, DM Group released an official statement. They've taken over the Victoria Project. Director Price has left the company. What? Christina's mind went blank. For a moment, she couldn't believe what she was hearing. Everyone in the room, especially a seasoned executive like Christina, knew what it meant to have another company announce your project first. Caleb's face went pale. That was $1 billion deal. Without that European contract, the company's survival was questionable. Did that mean his dream of becoming the man of the house at Christina Corp was over after just one day? He looked worriedly at Christina, only to see her still frozen in place, unable to say a word. Christina still couldn't believe that after the divorce threat. I would be so ruthless. A horde of reporters shoved their microphones in her face, but she remained silent, like a statue, nearly stumbling. For so many years, I had been tolerant of her. She never imagined I would be this decisive, especially so soon after my birthday. For some reason, Christina suddenly remembered the first birthday we celebrated together at the company years ago. Back then, no one had any money, and the office was shabby. She brought a cake, and we blew out the candles in that simple room. She was so good to me then, so guilty that all she could give me for my birthday was a plain cake and a meal at a neighborhood restaurant. Seeing her crestfallen face, I swore that one day, I would lead her and her company to the top of the industry. And I did. Without me, Christina's company might not have survived, let alone grown to its current size. But as the company stabilized and she transformed from an unknown nobody into a sought-after female CEO, she forgot who was actually keeping the company afloat. For years, My hard work allowed her to shine as CEO Christina. Everyone praised her as a self-made business prodigy. No one knew that I, the man she kept hidden in the background, was the one actually steering the ship. I had asked her before why she wouldn't take me to business dinners or make our relationship public. She told me it was because she loved me too much and didn't want our relationship to be tainted by other factors. Even though her explanation felt off, I was so in love with her that I foolishly accepted it. It wasn't until Caleb appeared as the public Mr. Christina that I realized how absurd my situation had been. It seemed she still didn't understand what losing me meant for her. Fine. Let her watch her years of ambition and hope turn to dust. Let her learn that, with me, she was the celebrated CEO Christina. Without me, she was nothing. Seeing Christina frozen, her secretary nudged her urgently. "Ms. Christina, you have to do something. How are we going to explain the European deal to the media? This affects not just our profits, but our credibility and public image." As soon as the secretary finished, the reporters' questions became a deafening roar. "Ms. Christina, can you confirm if Christina Corp truly secured the Victoria project? Or is there a secret you're not telling us? Ms. Christina, I heard GK Group only won this contract because they poached a key figure from your company. Can you comment on that? Ms. Christina, we've received information that you have a close relationship with the now resigned Director Price, and that the gentleman beside you, Mr. Caleb, is the other man who drove Mr. Price away. Is this true?" One aggressive question after another left Christina speechless. Worse, the reporter's inside information was not only sharp but accurate. The barrage of questions left her no room to even try to explain. Besides, my move had been so absolute that the only way to salvage her reputation was to get me back and have me take over the Victoria project again. There was no other way. With the help of her secretary and security, Christina's team fled the press conference and retreated to a backstage lounge. The entire company was in chaos. Not only did they have to clean up today's mess, but they also had to manage the PR crisis and try to get the story off the trending topics. But the news had broken too suddenly, and the discussion was spreading like wildfire. It was impossible to contain. Meanwhile, DM Group was fanning the flames, publicizing its close partnership with GK Group on the Victoria project. On top of that, thanks to Caleb's high-profile post, speculation about our three-way relationship was rampant online. A large portion of people believed Caleb was the homewrecker who forced me out, and Christina was the heartless woman who abandoned the husband who had supported her through thick and thin. For a company that wasn't yet a major player, this kind of public image was a fatal blow. But in that moment, Christina seemed deaf to the voices around her. Her fingers clenched her phone so tightly it looked like she might shatter it. A closer look revealed she was repeatedly dialing the same number on the dim screen, but it never connected. She kept trying until the battery died. Realizing I had blocked her number, Christina lost all control and smashed her phone on the ground, shattering it to pieces. Ignoring her secretary, who was on another call trying to get the story taken down, she snatched the phone and continued dialing my number. The first time, the second, the third, nothing. Finally, she resorted to a barrage of text messages. "Leo, where are you now? You were always in charge of the European project. What is all this? Are you trying to ruin me? Stop this. No matter what, I will not agree to a divorce. Come back to me and fix this. We're husband and wife. We're supposed to be together forever. Have you forgotten?" Message after message went unanswered. Christina ordered her subordinate to keep calling, but now my phone went straight to voicemail. The secretary dejectedly showed her the red dial screen. "Miss Christina, Leo's phone is off." Christina's face turned dark and ugly, but the worst was yet to come. A moment later, another assistant burst through the door with even worse news. "Miss Christina, it's bad. Director Price just posted a picture of your divorce agreement on his socials and what?" Christina asked, her face ashen. "And the picture Caleb posted with the caption 7 years of storms. So lucky to have you." The assistant's voice trailed off to a whisper, but everyone understood. Caleb finally snapped out of his daze, walked over, and grabbed the assistant, half questioning, half yelling, "What did you say?" That bastard Leo who gave him the right to do that. If Caleb had the nerve to be the other man, he knew that once the affair was exposed, he'd be buried under public scorn. My social media post was the final nail in the coffin for their sordid affair. Now, my taking the Victoria project wouldn't be seen as heartless. It would be seen as a brilliant, calculated act of revenge. The words had barely left his mouth when Christina slapped him across the face. The slap was so hard his cheek instantly swelled, and he stumbled to the ground, staring in disbelief that she had actually hit him. Who gave you the right to curse him? Leo Price is my husband. What are you? Christina thought of all the times I had forgiven her after being heartbroken, and she regretted her neglect. But she still believed that no matter what had happened, I still loved her. So she made a silent vow. She would win me back. She would win back my heart. She would not agree to a divorce. Everything that had happened was just a small bump in the road of their lives. After moving abroad, I thrived at DM. Alex really valued me and put me on many projects. Plus, since I came with a dowry, the contract, the senior executives who might have been critical of my sudden high-level appointment had nothing to say. Here, my income was directly proportional to my effort. I was no longer doing $50 million work for a $5,000 salary. I felt free. Work was busy, life was fulfilling, and I gradually began to forget the past. I didn't resent Christina and Caleb anymore. Or rather, I couldn't be bothered to care. But I never expected my peaceful life to be interrupted so soon by an unwelcome visitor. It was almost autumn, and the sycamore trees outside the office were shedding their leaves. Christina's tall, slender, and achingly familiar figure stood in the soft European breeze. It was clear from her disheveled appearance that the past few months had taken their toll. She had lost all interest in dressing up. She looked haggard and much older. I had no desire to get entangled with her or even speak to her. I tried to slip past as if I didn't know her, but it was no use. The moment she saw me, she grabbed my arm, her eyes pleading with me to talk to her. I shook her hand off. What is there for us to talk about? I said coldly. 10 minutes, Christina begged. Leo, I've never asked anyone for anything in my life. I'm begging you, just give me 10 minutes, please? Seeing her so pathetic, a flicker of something stirred in me. We had fought side by side for years, closing one deal after another, and she had the audacity to say she'd never begged anyone for anything. How ironic, right? All the company's past profits, every single contract, was secured because I pulled strings, drank myself into stomach spasms at dinner tables, and worked all night on proposals. She never had to lift a finger, so who would she have ever needed to beg? I was suddenly curious to hear what other hurtful nonsense could come out of her mouth. So I stopped trying to pull away, found a nearby cafe, and started a stopwatch on my phone, waiting for the 10 minutes to begin. Leo, where have you been? Do you have any idea how long I've been looking for you? Christina was still the same, spinning pretty lies. When I publicly left with the Victoria project, even an idiot would know where I was, let alone her. She really would stop at nothing to play the part of the devoted lover. I smirked and glanced at my watch. If this is all just nonsense, I don't think we need to waste another 8 minutes. My words left her speechless. She said meekly, Leo, we don't have to be so hostile. I really have been looking for you for a long time. You left so suddenly, I wasn't prepared at all. Couples fight and make up. I didn't even do anything to wrong you, so why did you have to be so extreme and demand a divorce? Even if you insist on a divorce, you have to at least give me a reason, right? I don't believe it's because of Caleb. It was just a joke. If you don't like him, I'll fire him when we get back, and you'll never have to see him again. Okay? Or is it the European deal you're upset about? If that's the case, then after all these years of marriage, she still didn't know me at all. I didn't want to hear any more of her assumptions. I cut her off and got straight to the point. Christina, do you remember what I said to you on our wedding day? She frowned, trying hard to remember, but came up empty. Of course, I shouldn't have expected her to remember what I said. It was just a mango, just a joke. I was the one making a big deal out of it, the one who couldn't take it. But Christina, the person who hurts me can be anyone in this world. Anyone but you. She saw my prolonged silence and, as if remembering something, had a sudden realization. You're not still mad about that glass of mango juice? Are you? Is it really that serious? It's just juice. If you don't want it, we just won't joke about it next time. Besides, I saw you that day, you're not allergic. Or are you upset about Caleb? Christina tore open my wounds without a shred of concern. I sat there, staring at her for a long time, before finally slumping back in my chair. In a voice that felt unnervingly calm even to myself, I told her, when I was a kid, my mom had an affair. She brought a man home and he gave me a mango. Back then, mangoes weren't common. I was curious, so I sat on the sofa and ate it. My dad came home, saw the mango in my hand, didn't say a word, and jumped out the window. Christina's mouth fell open, her expression shifting from shock to stunned silence. You said it was just a joke. Maybe to you it was, but not to me. So, can I go now? I stood up to leave. Christina knew that if she let me go this time, we would never have another chance. She blocked my path again.
I'm sorry, Leo.
I didn't know. What I did was wrong. Please forgive me. Okay?
I'm terrible.
Hit me. Go on, hit me. She grabbed my hand and started forcing it to strike her. Her theatrics sent a surge of anger through me. I yanked my hand away and yelled, "Have you made enough of a scene? I told you that not to get an apology, but to tell you that we are over. The mango is my line in the sand. You crossed it for Caleb, which means there's no going back for us. Do you understand?" She acted as if she genuinely didn't get it. "So you hate me that much?" she said, her voice filled with sorrow. "You hate me so much that you took the Victoria project to make the company we built together go bankrupt, just to get back at me? You're overthinking it. The Victoria project was always mine to manage. Taking what belongs to me is perfectly reasonable. Stop bothering me." Christina wasn't listening. She seemed to be in a trance, muttering to herself. "If I didn't care about you taking the project, and if there was no Caleb and no," her voice suddenly grew hoarse, "no mango that day, would you come back to me? The world isn't full of ifs." I pulled my hand free. "No," I said, my voice final. With that, I left the cafe, not knowing or caring what expression was on her face as I walked away. After that day, Christina kept showing up at my office, refusing to go back to her country. Alex, worried I'd go back to her, gave me a daily pep talk. He insisted she was only there for the billion-dollar contract, not because she truly loved me, and that I absolutely could not take her back. He promised he would handle getting rid of this toxic ex. Of course, I knew Alex meant well. Besides, the Victoria project was already halfway done. Even if I were a complete novice, I couldn't just bail at this stage. I told Alex, "Don't worry. I'm not going with her." He looked at me skeptically. "I wouldn't be so sure. You worked for her for years on a tiny salary. What if you run off again?" I just smiled and didn't answer. The past was the past. This was now. Luckily, Christina wasn't a very persistent person. After pestering me for a long time and seeing I had no intention of changing my mind, she realized some things couldn't be forced and finally chose to return home dejectedly. And on the very day she returned, Caleb was right back by her side. A man who dared to steal my job couldn't possibly understand how important I was to that company. He thought Christina could run it just fine without me. He was still dreaming of becoming the man of Christina Corp, latching onto her coattails. So the moment she was back, he eagerly rushed to her side. "Christina, don't be sad over someone who isn't worth it. With me here, even without his project, we can keep the company going. You can't slack off. Tomorrow we'll go out and land some new deals. You have to show that man what a great choice you made picking me." His misplaced fighting spirit left Christina dizzy, and she seemed to forget her own limitations. After enjoying success for so long, she actually thought she had the skills to continue being CEO Christina. But she forgot that in business, reputation is everything. Failing to secure the Victoria project was bad enough. The fact that I had exposed her affair and Caleb's role as the other man was the final blow. Her company and her name were toxic in the industry. Who would dare work with her? At first, Caleb was full of ambition, working overtime on proposals and secretly stalking my progress overseas. But the more my career flourished, the more imbalanced and jealous he became. Finally, in the third month of Christina Corp failing to make payroll and robbing Peter to pay Paul, he exploded. Do you even know how to run a damn company? At this rate, it's gonna go under. Forget marrying you. I'll be out on the street begging with you. Christina, already struggling to understand the technical jargon on her computer screen, was furious at his yelling. You have the nerve to talk about me? How are you any better than Leo? He used to handle little things like this without ever bothering me. All I had to do was sign the papers. I never had to work this hard. They screamed at each other, holding nothing back. But the company's crisis didn't care about their arguments. Soon after, Christina's company collapsed. To cover their financial hole, a court order forced them out of the villa we once shared, as it was being auctioned off. Even after this drastic change in their lives, they didn't choose to find honest work and live a stable life. Instead, to maintain their lavish lifestyle, they got into gambling and quickly blew through whatever assets they had left. The last I heard of them, they were arrested for theft and sentenced to 6 years in prison. The news reported on the final downfall of these two once celebrated figures. As for me, my work and life just kept getting better. 2 years later, due to my outstanding performance and leading my team to close several nearly impossible high-profit deals, the company promoted me to CEO of DM Group's China division. On the day I officially took the position, the company invited a lot of media, many of whom had been at Christina's disastrous press conference. They were very interested in my journey over the past few years and asked many questions, all of which I answered. Only the very last reporter asked something completely unrelated to the event. He said, "Mr. Price, are you aware that today is the day your ex-wife, Ms. Christina, officially begins her prison sentence? Your sudden departure from her company is still a topic of much debate. Would you be willing to share the story of the love and hate between you and Ms. Christina?" I thought for a moment, then smiled. I'm grateful for everything in the past and wish all the best for the future. But the past is the past. It's time to turn the page. The reporter asked no more questions. I thought to myself, let the past end here. I will be happy, happier and happier.